Well, you had the Bird night.
I had the Bird night. That was a tough night, man.
And he would tell you to play and catch it over there and shoot it.
Larry Bird, he was not a nice guy.
He talked to everybody. He was talking trash all the time, man. But fun.
And they called a timeout, and he turned around and looked at me and said, "I'm going to score right here on you."
And he came back out and hit about 10 in a row on me. And the last one was left-handed. And he asked me if my mother was watching.
It just came out.
And we never shook hands for 13 years.
Well, you had the Bird night.
I had the Bird night. That was a tough night, man. The biggest argument that night is, well, you only scored 6 on me.
But nobody was guarding Bird, were they?
Well, we were trying.
You were trying to.
No, but when a guy is literally coming up the court, calling his shots, and Bird talked a lot of trash.
And that's in New Orleans.
That's in New Orleans.
You were playing the Hawks, and it was one of those times they were playing some home games down in New Orleans.
In New Orleans, I'll never forget that game. He was so hot, he started shooting threes with his left hand.
And it was in a neutral site, and I know that Larry was always telling the ball boys, hey, go find out the scoring record. As he was getting taped on the tape table, he would always say, hey, go find out the scoring record in this gym.
Going into that game, I thought there might be a ray of sunshine because one of the bellmen told me that he had heard that Larry and a couple of his teammates may have gotten in a little bit late the night before. So I was saying, hey, maybe Larry won't have a real good night.
Bird, the bomb. Bird, the fall away. Bird out of the left corner. The bomb is good.
To say that Larry had a hot hand is an understatement without question.
He was calling shots off the glass. Who's next? Where you want this one from? And he just made one after another. When he got to about the 55th point, you knew it was something special. Even as a player, and that usually doesn't happen, but we were down so much at the time, you had time to realize the game.
We're on the free throw line, and he literally says, left side, across the 3, and you're listening to him. That's a tough feeling.
Yeah, that was the one game that I think he tortured Dominique. He saw Dominique, this up-and-coming player, and he just tortured him mentally that game. He tortured all of them.
I mean, it was mind-blowing.
I think Bird went by the bench one time, too.
He fell in the bench.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, and he called that one. That was the one where he fell in it. He literally said, off the glass into the trainer. And, and so it was a bad night.
It's going to be a 3, and it's going to be awful decent. And then he said, who wants it? And I think Ricky Brown, I'm not for sure who it was, ran out after him. And he shot this high rainbow. It goes in. Ricky bumps into him and accidentally knocks him on our trainer's lap. So it was exactly what he said.
Antoine Carr and Cliff Levingston got fined by Fratello, I think.
And Eddie Johnson for celebrating.
Celebrating Bird.
Yeah, it was the best film session. Every time when I see Mike, we still laugh.
God,
it was
so
it was the greatest film session ever because back then you didn't have, you watched the real game and just went, with a video. And Mike rewound the celebration 20 times. He just kept, not the shot, he just kept rewinding it, showing the guys, you remember they were giving each other high five.
And then somebody falls off the bench,
too.
Yeah,
that was Eddie Johnson.
Yeah.
Eddie Johnson falls off the bench in laughter.
I mean, everybody was entertained by this. Even
the
guys on the guys on the Atlanta bench.
They got fined for that, I heard.
Yeah. Watch the reactions on the Atlanta bench. You see Scotty Hastings put them. Yeah.
When you get
now watch Cliff Levingston over here. I think this is Cliff.
And our film session was 20 minutes of that.
Larry, put on a show that night. And I mean, just to get the whole Atlanta bench going crazy on some of the shots that he was making down the stretch is a pretty good indication. I'm not sure I've ever seen that before.
And we never shook hands for 13 years.
You at the three-point competition, walking in the locker room, who's playing? Did you really say that? Who's playing for second?
Yeah, I did. I sort of felt bad.
Yeah, when you walked in and asked who was going to get second place in the three-point contest, when you walked in there, what were you thinking when you made that announcement to the room? Just messing with all those guys like you always did.
Yeah,
with everybody?
I didn't. You know, I had no clue. I never really practiced. Me and Danny used to shoot some before we went out there. Everybody's sitting there. Everybody's real quiet. You really didn't. You knew the guys, but you never were around them.
Three-point contest at the All-Star break, and Larry walks in and says, "I hope all you guys in here are thinking about second place because I'm winning this." Excuse me?
Who were some of the guys? Who were some of the guys in the competition at that time when you walked in? Who was in that field?
You know,
Come on, Coach. You know.
No, I don't really remember.
Dell Ellis.
Yeah, Dell. What's
Hodges.
the kid that's Yeah, Hodges.
Leon Wood.
And I'm sitting there with one of my teammates, Leon Wood. It was a great three-point shooter. Larry Bird comes in last.
And nobody's really saying anything, so I walk in and look around, and it just came out.
He says,
"Who's coming in second?" You already know who's going to win this.
It was so quiet. And after that, I said, oh, man, these guys ain't got no chance.
And I got lucky because I almost got beat in the first round.
But what was the reaction after you said that? Like, oh, that's just Larry Legend, or did it get dead silence in there?
It was silence. I think they were a little nervous.
I like it.
I think they were nervous.
I had no clue I was going to win it. But you know, that's just part of the competition.
There you see Larry finishing off. Look at that smooth rhythm. The shot, one step back, pick it up, the shot. Back and forth. He is like a machine, and the results are almost like a machine.
He took off his top yet. I didn't see when he took off his top. Hey, it's hard to shoot after Bird just made 23.
And then the walk off with your hand up. I mean, come on, Coach. Come on.
Well, I was struggling in that final round in Chicago. I know that. And I just got hot there the last 2.5 racks. You know, when you're shooting them, you don't know what the score is.
Right.
But I had a feeling by the way the crowd was going, I had to make the last one. And when I let it go, I felt it. You know, sometimes you shoot them, you think they're going in, they don't. But that one there looked perfect all the way. So if it would have bounced out, I would have felt like an idiot.
Well,
but it went in. I got lucky and got the check and went home.
Larry Bird at the buzzer with the two-point ball. 17-15 defends the long-distance shootout crowd at Chicago Stadium.
He and Ainge, I think, were both in the three-point contest together, and Larry won the contest. And then one day we got on the bus, and we were on the bus for a few minutes, and Larry said to Ainge, he goes, "Hey, Danny," and Danny goes, "Yeah, Larry." He goes, "Who's the three-point king?" You know.
Larry Bird, he was not a nice guy.
Back then when we flew commercial, we didn't fly private. We played in a Tuesday night game in Cleveland.
Matter of fact, there was one game in Cleveland.
And he told me where he was going and where he was going to shoot.
Nah, I won't hear about it.
Okay.
I won't hear about it.
It was 91-92 season, and we was playing the Boston Celtics. It was Bird, McHale, Parrish, the great three, Ainge, and we was up 1. Okay.
Where he was having a pretty rough first half, and in the old days in Cleveland, you walked off the court the same way at halftime, and I kind of puffed up on him and walked beside him and was like, "Yeah, you're 1 for 10." I was like, "That's defense, you know," and he just kind of looked at me and said, "There's 2 halves." And he came back out and hit about 10 in a row on me.
And we was up 1. Okay. He said, "Who's guarding me?" As we come out of timeout. Now remember, I'm a rookie because Price is out because he hurt.
Right.
He says, "Who's guarding me?" I says, "Craig Elo." He says, "Why you got that white boy on me?" Don't put no white boy on me.
He said that was the most.
Now remember, Larry Bird is white.
Right.
And the last one was left-handed, and he asked me if my mother was watching.
I think the story that sums up Larry the best was we had a game on Wednesday night in New Jersey. Snowstorm hits Cleveland. We're at the airport at 7 in the morning. Flight's canceled at 7. It's canceled at 8. It's canceled at 9. It's canceled at 10. Canceled at 11, 12. We finally leave about 1:30 or 2 in the afternoon. We fly up to New Jersey. Now the storm has kind of moved into Jersey. And the bus driver says, well, I can't get to the hotel and to the arena. I can only go to one place. Well, we had a game that night. We go to the arena. So we get to the arena, and I mean, we're dragging. And we're sitting around the locker room, and, and everybody's kind of, we're tired. And, and all of a sudden, the coach gives a little bit of a speech of, come on, man, guys, we're playing basketball. Let's get ready to go. And Larry stands up, and Larry says, a couple other few choice words, and he says, I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to take it out on their rear ends. So I was like, oh, all right, so let's go. So we go on the floor. Albert King sitting there. And Larry walks up to Albert King and goes, don't take this butt whooping personally. I've been eating hot dogs all day. And then Albert King looks at him like, you've been eating hot dogs all day? What's that got to do with me? And we went out and just hammered him. I mean, we terrorized them. And that was Larry. There was no excuses. I mean, he just played. And I tell you, that was just his competitive nature. But a day when you fly all day and eat hot dogs in the airport, best thing was Albert's look on his face like, what hot dogs got to do with me?
I still love the Xavier McDaniel story.
Anybody better than Larry Bird?
No, Larry's probably the best trash talker. And the best thing about Larry now, he's so buttoned down now. He's just like, I didn't do that. I said, man, that guy lies. He was the best trash talker. And he denies everything.
Can you tell a Larry story? I haven't heard much of him, any stories about him talking trash, and he's so quiet.
Yes.
Just every other time, and I never got to play on the court or see. But can you tell a story like something you remember?
One of there's a million of them, but one of my favorite ones is we're playing Phoenix, and we're way ahead, okay?
The Celtics were playing the Suns, and
we're down in the old Saddle Dome that they had outside.
Right.
And Larry, we're playing good as a team. Larry has the worst fourth quarter known to man. I mean, he's throwing the ball to the other team. I'm like, good Lord, we had like a 15-point lead. Next thing you know, we're down 2. And I'm like, how in the world are we going to lose this game, man?
So we have a play, out of bounds play. I'm taking it out, and Larry says, I'm going to bust off the play, and I'm just going to come out, and I'm going to shoot a 3. And I'm like,
and Larry says, I'm going to bust the play. I'm going to shoot a 3. And I'm like, Bertie, let's just get into overtime. I'll go with the Robert. Robert, we need to get into overtime, man. Right. Try to get this ship right because we're sinking, man. Right, I tell you right now.
Celtics are down by 2 points, and Bird is out by the 3-point line, and he's being guarded by a guy named Johnny High.